Welcome to Tide Talks, presented by RWJ Barnabas Health, the official healthcare provider of Princeton Athletics. This is a special series celebrating 50 years of Princeton women's athletics. I am your host, Krista Samaras, class of 1999. I am particularly excited today to have Amanda Level, class of 2017, on the show because she was a lacrosse player like me, the defender to my attacker. She was a class of 2017, a defender all Ivy, and she is now getting her master's at Stanford as a Knight Hennessy Scholar. Amanda, welcome to Tide Talks.
Thank you, Krista. Hi, this is so, I don't know, I realized thinking about when we first met, I feel like we've come so far.
I know. I mean, I coached you.
When I was a baby.
Way back in high school. Yeah. Well, you may have been young, but you were potent then. Even talking to you, your former coach here at Princeton, the associate head coach, Jen Cook. She had so many amazing things to say about you. Some things that I knew, soft-spoken, but such a spark on the field. Tell us what you've been doing for the last, couple of years since you graduated.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2017, which it's going by so quickly. I realize it's almost 4 years ago. But right after I graduated, I actually moved to the Bay Area for a little while, and I was interning at a nonprofit there before relocating to New York. And I spent a few years in New York working for an organization called Human Rights Watch, which is an international human rights organization. And I joke that I've just been going back and forth to the most expensive cities in the country because then I changed positions within Human Rights Watch and went back to the West Coast and was working in LA for a little while. And then I came up and am back in Northern California at Stanford and in grad school. So that's kind of a very brief overview of me going coast to coast.
So besides going coast to coast, so you majored in the School of Public and International Affairs at Princeton. Did you know going into Princeton that you wanted to get into public policy, world-changing efforts? Did you know that going in, or did you sort of discover that as you were a rising like freshman, sophomore at Princeton?
Yeah, no, I kind of stumbled on it. I think that's one of the things that I love so much about Princeton is they give you the space to explore and to figure out what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. And so I think I ended up choosing it. Then when I was in school, it's called the Woodrow Wilson School, but since they've changed the name to the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs. And I think I gravitated towards it because it was so broad. Like there were elements of psychology and sociology and history and politics and economics. It was just like a mega, and I'm not good at committing. So I was like, this is perfect. I can just explore something that has a little bit of everything, and I'm not completely committing to one field. And then it ended up just being exactly like what my heart needed. It was definitely the right path for me. And so, yeah, I stumbled on it, but I feel like it was just definitely how it was supposed to work out.
And so how has that influenced and combined with your being just a strong leader on the women's lacrosse team at a time when the team was super competitive? How does that influence like the decision you made going like right out of college?
Just in terms of like how my studies and then along with lacrosse led to what I ended up doing. I think it was substantively, I knew what I was interested in school because I studied human rights when I was at Princeton, and I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. I knew I wanted to go in the human rights field, but then I don't think quantify what lacrosse gave me, and just being in an environment with an incredible team with Coach Saylor, who is, more than probably anyone, like the biggest legend, and just in all of the ways that it instilled such deep like work ethic and discipline and just all of the things. I think I realized going back when I was in college, I never told anyone I was a student athlete. Like I didn't want to be associated as an athlete because there's always sometimes a stigma that student athletes don't deserve to be here, or and so I kind of like distanced myself. But then as I started going to interviews and like trying to figure out what my positions would look like after college, I realized it was my greatest strength. Like it set me apart in so many ways, just because that most people aren't used to waking up at 5 a.m. for workouts and traveling and having to balance school with all of our other extracurricular activities and sports and just like literally feeling like that gut instinct to go and to have to keep pushing yourself no matter what, and to always be on time. And like I could go on and all the things that sports instilled in me. But I think that mix ended up helping me in terms of where I ended up after Princeton.
So you came from a non-traditional lacrosse playing area, which is how we came into contact. Why did you want to come to a super competitive lacrosse school like Princeton?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I cannot put anything like describe my path with outside of my high school coach, who we talked about her a little bit. Coach K. She was my like superhero. She was like a second mother to me, my high school coach. And I actually like you said, Texas is not a traditionally like a traditional lacrosse mecca. Like I didn't. Most people don't know what lacrosse is in Texas, and I didn't start playing until my freshman year of high school. So that was the first year I picked up a stick, and I think I don't know if she saw something in me, but or she saw me as her daughter, and she just did everything she could to give me as many opportunities as I had. Like I always thought I was going to play basketball. Basketball was my favorite sport. I wanted to play basketball in college, but
Same.
yeah, exactly. It's just like, and I think there's a lot of crossover, and that's probably part of why I love lacrosse. It's really similar to basketball in a lot of ways. I laugh with Coach Saylor now because Princeton actually was the bottom of my list. Like after I've narrowed it down to like four schools, and because I knew I think I wanted to be in an environment that like kind of focused mainly on academics. Like lacrosse was always I was good at lacrosse. I liked lacrosse, but I wasn't going to school to play lacrosse. I was going to school, and I happened to be playing lacrosse while I was there. And I think it's really hard to put into how I ended up at Princeton. It's a really crazy, beautiful mix of it just ended up being the perfect fit for me. But when I got there, I just it was the best of both worlds. It was like my Coach K was like, Amanda, you're not going to want to go to a losing program. I was like, I don't care about lacrosse. Like this is fine. I just want a great school. And then she's like, I know you, like you're not gonna. And so then it ended up being, she was so right. Like being at Princeton and being able to like be in such an academically rich environment and surrounded by just the most brilliant minds, while also like every year we were competing for a national championship, and that was just it was incredible. And I'm so glad that that's where I ended up.
So when you got to Princeton and you're playing, what did the rigor, did the competitiveness, did the pressure at all surprise you from from your lacrosse experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It's such a different pace. Like
Mhm.
I knew nothing about lacrosse. I realized when I got there, like I was athletic, but I was like, I didn't even know, like I was cradling the ball the wrong way. Like I didn't know anything. And so like they're getting up to speed to realizing that the pocket is a different part of the stick than that was using. It was a complete like reworking of my whole understanding of it. But it was also awesome. I think just being in it with my teammates, they're the most incredible humans, and we just built such deep relationships while we were there, and it made it the most wonderful experience.
Speaking of your teammates, your classmates, class of 2017, women on the lacrosse team, were really early, active participants in pushing the alumni. I know in our lacrosse alumni group to be thinking about how to support the Black Lives Matters movement. Can you talk about what that was like to spearhead that effort on behalf of like all of the women's lacrosse players, but particularly your class? Why that meant so much to you guys?
Yeah, I just this is part of I think what looking back on my experience and thinking about how incredibly blessed I've been to be with these humans, because it was one of my teammates, Madeline Rodriguez she's the one who spearheaded this. So I think it was in the summer, and I think everyone was just I was brokenhearted, and I didn't even have, I think, the emotional bandwidth, I think, to talk to a lot of people reached out, and I just wasn't in a space where I could even kind of like engage or kind of even accept the love that people were trying to pour out onto me. It was really hard. And Madeline, I think she messaged our group, our class of 2017, and she was just like really pushing, trying to like, what can we do? Like, let's find a way to make change. And she completely like architected this push to try to get active involvement and to make a difference. And I just remember feeling like I just felt so like it was beautiful for me, because I think a lot of times I didn't talk at all about my experience of being Black on an all white lacrosse team for my 4 years in college, and like what that was like until I think my senior year, and just seeing my teammates just take a step up. I just felt like, yeah, this is my family, these are my teammates. And yeah, it was powerful for me to experience that from one of my teammates. And then all of them, everyone who rose to the challenge and really worked to try to make a difference.
Do you, now you said you're at Stanford, you're getting your master's, and you're also coaching the Stanford women's lacrosse team. What is it like to be back in the game and on the sidelines helping, college competitive female athletes go after the thing that they want so badly.
It's amazing. I just started this week. This week was my first week as a volunteer assistant coach with the Stanford team. And it's so funny because like I said, if you ask any of my teammates, I was never the laxer. Like, I'm just kind of like, it was like a running joke that I'm so aloof. Like I always, I knew who we were playing, but a running joke was like, Amanda, do you know who we're playing today? Cause I just kind of like dilly dally around and to be now like with these athletes at Stanford, like I've only been there a week and they're so amazing. Like, and I see, I actually have not picked touch a stick since Coach K passed away about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, like, I think in thinking of like wanting to give back and wanting to volunteer in this way, it's because like she wouldn't want anything less. Like, she would want me to give back and to be involved in this sport that has given me so much. And so to have the opportunity to do that it's really, I just feel like a giddy schoolgirl at practice, and the girls are wonderful, and I'm just really looking forward to getting to know them because I think about how big of an impact that those people in my life had, and if I can even have 1/millionth of the impact that Coach K had on me on in someone else, I think I will have accomplished more than I could have ever dreamed of.
Mm. Where do you go from here? What's next for you?
We're well, I'm so excited. I've been in a different place during Christmas for the past 5 years. Every year I've been living in a different city. And so for right now, I'm so happy to just know at least I'm going to be at Stanford for the next few years. And so to like have that stability is very, very nice. But yeah, I think once my work is pretty much going to be dedicated my whole life to human rights and working in the human rights field. And I don't necessarily know what that will look like. I probably, if I want to go into research or just like kind of figuring out where my talents best fit. But for right now, I hopefully am going to finish school strong and soak in just this incredible environment that I'm in. And from there, like figure out how I can just continue giving of myself in this field.
What's your distinguishing characteristic that you were able to like really hone and craft and codify and then launch yourself with from Princeton? Maybe even you found it on the lacrosse field. What is your distinguishing characteristic as you go into all of the next awesome things for you?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. My distinguishing characteristic. I think for me, it's my, like, this sounds so probably corny, but just like my like deep love for other people. And it's like, that is like, it was definitely honed within like being on a team where it's all about like self-sacrifice and like, and putting others before yourself and being like a humble servant leader. And in the ways that I always experience that from others and people giving so much to me. Like I long to like love people well in that way and to give of myself in that same way. And yeah, I guess that's the kind of the common thread in my work and how I try to aim going about my life and on a day-to-day basis with the people in my life. And yeah, that's kind of, I guess that would be my defining characteristic.
And if I asked you to think about Princeton women's lacrosse and put it in a phrase that you either see in your everyday life or that you feel in your heart, like what do you think when you think of Princeton women's lacrosse?
Oh my goodness. So that's so hard. It's almost just indescribable. It's like a lens through which I can see the world just more clearly because of everything that it's given me. And I feel like wholeness and love and joy. And yeah, there's not, I don't think there's a phrase that I wouldn't be able to put it into a phrase because it's so much.
Well, you are so much. I know that you look at the Stanford players and think they're just so amazing. Can you imagine how your coaches saw you when you were in college? It's so awesome to see this come full circle. What you're doing out there in the world, what you're studying is incredible. We wish you so much luck and joy. Thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me, Krista. This was awesome.